Amidst the sprawling cityscape of Philadelphia, shrouded in the icy grip of a relentless winter, Michael Joseph and his wife, Sarah, found themselves stranded in their cozy suburban home. The snow fell like a relentless curtain, cutting them off from the rest of the world, a silent yet formidable barrier. As the night deepened and the wind howled outside, an eerie silence settled within their home. The usual crackle of the fireplace and the comforting hum of the furnace were replaced by an unsettling stillness that sent shivers down their spines. Michael, a man of rational mind and unwavering logic, tried to shake off the creeping sense of unease that pervaded the atmosphere. He attributed it to the isolation and the harshness of the winter storm. But Sarah, more attuned to the subtle shifts in the energy around them, couldn't ignore the growing dread that gnawed at her heart. As the hours ticked by, strange occurrences began to unfold within the confines of their home. Whispers echoed through the empty hallways, doors creaked open and slammed shut on their own, and shadows seemed to dance and contort in the corners of their vision. Michael, despite his initial skepticism, couldn't deny the mounting evidence of a paranormal presence. The once familiar walls of their home now seemed to harbor an unseen entity, a malevolent force that was toying with their senses. Fear gripped them both as they huddled together in the living room, the flickering flames from the fireplace casting an uneasy glow on their faces. The whispering grew louder, the shadows more menacing, and the air grew heavy with an oppressive silence. Sarah, her voice trembling with fear, suggested they seek refuge in their attic, a place they had rarely visited since moving into the house. Michael, hesitant but determined to protect his wife, reluctantly agreed. As they ascended the creaking attic stairs, the whispers seemed to intensify, the shadows swirling around them like a living entity. They reached the attic door, its old hinges groaning as Michael pushed it open. A blast of icy air hit them, carrying with it a musty smell of decay and forgotten memories. They stepped into the dimly lit attic, their eyes darting around the cluttered space. Old furniture draped in dust sheets, forgotten toys from their childhood, and boxes filled with remnants of their past lay scattered around them. As they ventured deeper into the attic, the whispers grew deafening, the shadows more oppressive. Sarah gasped in terror, pointing towards a corner of the attic, where a dark, swirling vortex of energy pulsated with an eerie glow. Michael's heart pounded in his chest as he realized they had stumbled upon the source of the malevolent presence. The vortex seemed to beckon them closer, its seductive whispers promising answers to their deepest fears and desires. But Michael knew the danger that lay within the vortex. It was a trap, a gateway to a realm of darkness that would consume their souls. He grabbed Sarah's hand and pulled her away from the swirling vortex, urging her to flee the attic. They stumbled out of the attic and down the stairs, the whispers fading behind them. They reached the living room, collapsing onto the couch, their bodies trembling from the terrifying encounter. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the darkness, the storm began to subside. The wind calmed, the snow gradually ceased its relentless fall, and the world outside regained a semblance of normalcy. Michael and Sarah emerged from their home, the harrowing experience etched in their minds. They had faced the unseen entity that haunted their home, and they had survived, their bond strengthened by their shared fear and determination. The winter storm eventually passed, leaving behind a blanket of pristine snow that transformed the city into a picturesque winter wonderland. But beneath the peaceful facade, Michael and Sarah knew that the malevolent presence still lurked within the shadows, waiting for another opportunity to prey on the unsuspecting. They vowed to remain vigilant, forever mindful of the unseen forces that could shatter the illusion of safety. Story number 2. In the heart of Washington, D.C., amidst the bustling government buildings and towering monuments, Charles Richard found himself working the night shift as a security guard at the National Museum of Natural History. The museum, with its vast collection of artifacts and exhibits, had always held a fascination for Charles, and he relished the tranquil solitude of his late-night rounds. One night, as Charles made his usual rounds through the dimly lit halls, an unsettling feeling crept over him. The museum's usually familiar surroundings seemed to have taken on an eerie cast, the shadows dancing in the corners of his vision, and the silence punctuated only by the occasional creak of the old floorboards. As he approached the Egyptian exhibit, a chill ran down his spine. The air felt heavy, almost oppressive, and the statues seemed to stare at him with a knowing glint in their eyes. Charles tried to shake off the feeling, attributing it to the late hour and the stillness of the night. But his unease only grew as he continued his rounds. He could hear whispers echoing through the halls, voices that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. The whispers were in a language he couldn't understand, but their tone was filled with malice and foreboding. Charles's heart pounded in his chest as he tried to locate the source of the whispers. He hurried through the exhibits, his footsteps echoing in the empty halls. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, as if the unseen voices were taunting him, urging him to follow them. Finally, he found himself drawn to a dimly lit room at the back of the museum. The room housed a collection of ancient Egyptian artifacts, including a sarcophagus that was said to have belonged to a powerful pharaoh. As he approached the sarcophagus, the whispers reached a fever pitch, filling his head with a cacophony of voices. Suddenly, the sarcophagus lid creaked open, revealing a mummified figure inside. The mummy's eyes glowed with an eerie green light, and its lips curled into a grotesque snarl. Charles stumbled back in horror, his mind reeling in disbelief. The mummy lunged at him, its decaying arms outstretched, its claws raking at the air. Charles barely managed to dodge the attack, his heart pounding in his chest like a drum. He turned to run, but the mummy was too fast, its movements swift and predatory despite its age. Charles raced through the museum, the mummy hot on his heels. The whispers grew louder, filling the air with a deafening roar. He could hear the mummy's raspy breath behind him, the sound sending shivers down his spine. Finally, he reached the front door, fumbling with the lock as the mummy closed in. He managed to throw open the door and stumble out into the cool night air, the mummy's decaying hand reaching for him just as he slammed the door shut. Charles collapsed onto the steps, gasping for breath, his body trembling from the adrenaline rush. He looked back at the museum, its dark silhouette looming against the city lights, a chilling reminder of the horrors that lurked within. From that night on, Charles never returned to the museum. The memory of the mummy's glowing eyes and its raspy breath haunted his dreams, and the whispers of the ancient spirits echoed in his mind. The National Museum of Natural History had once been a place of wonder and fascination, but for Charles, it had become a symbol of terror, a reminder of the unseen forces that lurked beneath the surface of the world. Story number 3. Beneath the soft glow of vintage pendant lights and the warm, comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee, Betty Jean's bookshop, the Book Nook, stood as an oasis of tranquility in the bustling heart of San Diego's Gaslamp Quarter. With its shelves lined with worn and well-loved novels, Betty Jean's Sanctuary had become a beloved institution, a cherished haven for bookworms and literary enthusiasts alike. Betty Jean, a woman with a passion for literature as deep as the roots of the ancient oak tree that stood sentinel outside her shop, was the heart and soul of the Book Nook. Her gentle smile, warm eyes, and infectious love for stories had transformed her shop into a cherished place where people could escape the mundane and immerse themselves in worlds of imagination and adventure. However, the tranquility of Betty Jean's sanctuary was shattered one fateful night as she prepared to close up shop after a particularly quiet evening. The Gaslamp Quarter, usually abuzz with activity, was eerily quiet, the only sound the distant hum of traffic echoing from the streets beyond. As Betty Jean locked the door behind her, a shiver ran down her spine, an inexplicable sense of unease washing over her. The normally welcoming interior of the Book Nook seemed to have transformed into a labyrinth of shadows and whispers. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of papers sent a jolt of fear through Betty Jean's heart. She tried to reason with herself, attributing her anxiety to the silence and the lingering effects of the day's events. But the unsettling feeling persisted, growing stronger with each passing moment. Determined to shake off the growing dread, Betty Jean decided to tidy up the remaining loose ends before heading home. As she began closing the shop, she noticed a faint glow emanating from a corner of the store. Curiosity piqued, she cautiously approached the source of the light, her heart pounding in her chest. To her horror, she discovered a flickering candle, its flame casting a menacing dance of shadows on the walls. The candle stood on a small, ornate pedestal, its surface adorned with intricate carvings that seemed to writhe and undulate in the flickering light. Betty Jean's breath caught in her throat as she recognized the design on the pedestal, a symbol from a forgotten legend, a tale of an ancient evil that haunted the gas lamp quarter, preying on the lonely and the unsuspecting. The legend whispered of a malevolent spirit that lured unsuspecting souls to its lair, promising them knowledge and power in exchange for their souls. Panic seized Betty Jean as she realized the danger she was in. She had accidentally awakened the spirit, drawn it into her sanctuary with the flickering candle. The shadows seemed to grow darker, the air heavier as the spirit stirred, its presence becoming more palpable. Betty Jean's mind raced, desperately seeking an escape from the impending horror. She remembered the ancient amulet her grandmother had given her, a relic said to protect its wearer from evil spirits. With trembling hands, she searched through her purse, finally finding the amulet tucked away in a forgotten pocket. As she clutched the amulet tightly in her hand, a surge of power coursed through her veins. The shadows seemed to retreat, the air grow lighter as the spirit's influence waned. With a newfound determination, Betty Jean grabbed the candle and extinguished its flame, severing the connection between the spirit and the world. The atmosphere in the shop shifted once more, the oppressive darkness replaced by a comforting warmth. Betty Jean's fear subsided, replaced by a sense of relief and gratitude. She had narrowly escaped the clutches of the malevolent spirit, her courage and the amulet's power saving her from a fate worse than death. Leaving the candle and the pedestal behind, Betty Jean quickly fled the shop, the amulet still clutched tightly in her hand. As she stepped out into the night, the gas lamp quarter had regained its vibrancy, the silence replaced by the familiar sounds of the city. Betty Jean breathed a sigh of relief, grateful to be out of the clutches of the spirit and back in the safe embrace of the world she knew. Never again would she underestimate the power of the unseen, the lurking evil that could prey on the unsuspecting. Betty Jean's night at the Book Nook had been a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the city's vibrant surface, a reminder that even the most familiar places could harbor secrets that could shatter the illusion of safety. From that night on, Betty Jean's bookshop became more than just a haven for bookworms and literary enthusiasts. It was a place of vigilance, a sanctuary where the spirit of San Diego's folklore was kept at bay, a testament to the power of courage and the enduring strength of the human spirit. Our horror stories come over. These 3 stories are just a glimpse into the vast and terrifying realm of horror, where our deepest fears and darkest imaginations come to life. Subscribe my channel for more true horror stories.